Look at this man. This is Lev Goukassian. He looks relaxed, completely engaged in the moment with his dog, but his mind is relentlessly active, working to solve a massive structural flaw in the technology we rely on every day. For Lev, a stage 4 cancer diagnosis functioned as a strict deadline. It made time visible. Ethical infrastructure actually deserves to outlive us. Acute mortality clears the board of trivial pursuits. Personal recognition stops being the goal. What remains is an urgent responsibility to solve a hidden systemic crisis before the clock runs out. To understand the exact crisis Lev identified, we have to look at these data streams. These represent the massive volume of automated algorithms and financial networks that currently govern our global infrastructure. This diagram shows the flaw at their core. Built on strict binary logic, the machine must constantly choose, proceed or refuse. This creates a terrifying vacuum. Incapable of hesitating during market chaos, the flow simply plows right through the noise. Because the algorithm is forced to keep moving, it has to guess. It calculates a statistical probability, outputs a binary action, and then treats that mathematical confidence as if it were actual truth. A machine that cannot pause will eventually turn small moments of uncertainty into cascading catastrophes. It fails because it was never taught how to stop. Lev did not design his solution in isolation. He aggressively sparred with multiple AI models, using them as tools to challenge his own concepts and discard superficial answers. He distilled complex moral philosophy down to a 3-part executable law designed specifically for machines. He called it the Goukassian vow. The first 2 pillars are straightforward directives. A machine must proceed where the truth is known, and it must refuse to act when harm is clear. The third pillar is radical. It establishes an absolute mandate. The machine must pause when the truth is uncertain. This vow transforms ethics from a passive promise into a hard architectural constraint. It forces the machine to physically obey the rule. Lev named this structural solution ternary logic. It solves the binary trap by inserting a required third state directly into the code. We can see that third state in action here. It's called the epistemic hold. The exact moment a system encounters ambiguous data or volatile market conditions, it triggers a mandatory computational pause. The transaction immediately diverts into a holding pattern and locks in place. This pause forces radical transparency. A digital seal snaps shut, creating an immutable record of exactly why the system stopped. This enforces a strict architectural law. No log equals no action. This mechanism prevents bad actors from exploiting market chaos, and it stops algorithms from acting recklessly under the cover of high-speed opacity. Ternary logic civilizes speed. It proves that in complex, high-stakes systems, hesitation is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. This framework is not a magic shield. It will not prevent every future financial crisis or algorithmic failure. Its true, lasting power is evidentiary. When a failure does happen, we will have a perfect, unalterable record of how the decision was made and exactly who ignored the system's warnings. Over the next 50 years, this triadic logic could transition from a radical idea into the mandatory bedrock for autonomous capital and social infrastructure. The survival of our financial systems depends entirely on whether we learn to value the memory of how decisions are made just as much as the profit generated by them. This architecture ensures that history inherits something more valuable than a flawless machine. It inherits a machine that structurally refuses to hide its own mistakes. This shifts the focus away from the architecture of machines and places it directly on you. We now know that our current systems are built to ignore truth in favor of speed. Pretending this problem does not exist is no longer an option. Acquiring this awareness creates an immediate, unavoidable obligation to demand change. We can no longer claim the ignorance that permitted these systems to run unchecked. Look at Lev again. His work is a living, ongoing effort. The blueprint is finished, and now it is passed from his hands to ours. As Lev wrote, "The heaviest knowledge is not knowing the answer. It is knowing the cost of asking too late." We have to decide whether our systems will continue to blindly outrun our conscience, or whether we can architect the courage to make them pause.